Hello, hello. How's it going? We are back. We are live. How's everybody feeling tonight? I know it's been a little bit since we've been live, but we want to make sure that we get back here and to you guys after this long set of weeks that we've been having. We've had the Wall That Heals was here. We had Memorial Day, of course, kind of jumping into a bunch of different stuff, and so we wanted to be back tonight and get with you. I know we're a little late, but we are back in there. Hey, howdy, hey! I see Caleb. I'm doing good. I see Historic Opossum. How you doing? So we're gonna be doing something a little different tonight. We're gonna be covering in on some special stuff that's going on, some happenings. One of them is we have a holiday coming up here very soon. It is MIA POW Day that comes up in September. It's the third, I believe, Friday in September. Every year. This year, I think it's on September 18th. And so we are getting ready for it. I know it seems a little early to be getting ready for something like that. But we are getting ready for it. We're going to be doing some special stuff, but we're going to jump. Hey, okay, there we go. So this is the DPAA website. Sorry, we are having a little audio issue right there. This is the DPAA website. It's dpaa.mil. A lot of people don't realize how many people are still missing and that their stories are still out there, that you can find their stories and learn more about them and kind of learn what you can do to help bring them home. So you can see here, there's a Undersecretary of War Personal Readiness visits the DPAA. But if you come over here, they have live streams when they're out there actually searching. But one of the things you can go is searchable list of the missing. And when you pull this up, it's going to have a list of who all is missing and from what wars. Total missing as of 1973. So you go through and find these: Cold War, Gulf War, and Libya operations, 6 missing, 6 unaccounted for. And you can find their personnel files. So we'll do something. We're here in Oklahoma, so we're going to go through and home of record. We'll drop down here to Oklahoma and search. And so it's going to pull up all the ones missing from Oklahoma. And so this is 1,460. That's not actually correct. So if we were going to go back to search here, we're going to go all from Oklahoma, accounted for status, only the unaccounted for. So 1,386 unaccounted for. And all these ones that you have blue next to their names. So Fred Ackerley. We're going to click Fred Ackerley there. And it's going to come up with his story. Unfortunately, there's no photo for him. They reach out to the families and try to get photos that way. So I understand that they passed away, but why they're still looking for them? If you were killed overseas, do you not think that your family would probably want you back? This gentleman that we got back from the Korean War was a POW, and he still had family that are alive. His mother died not that long after he was, or it was before he was actually recovered. But he was recovered quite some time ago, but there was no DNA on file, so they couldn't actually bring him home. And we make a commitment to anyone that we send overseas. The whole idea of, oh, well, it's been so long ago, I'll get a little less than PG. That's bullshit. We sent somebody overseas. It's our job to bring them home. If they're no longer important because it was that long ago, it was a long time ago before we had the Constitution, or we declared independence from Great Britain. It was a long time ago that people set foot and fought for freedoms. However, those people are still important. They still raised their hand and volunteered and served and went overseas. And repatriating them, bringing them home, they died serving their country. So their country owes a debt of responsibility to bring them back. So like this one here, sir, joined the U.S. Army from Oklahoma, served in the 315th Infantry Regiment, 79th Infantry Division. On January 12, 1945, Sergeant Ackerley was reported missing in action following combat against German forces near Héton, France. He could not be located following his disappearance and was never reported as a prisoner of war. His remains were not located or recovered after the conflict was over. Today, Sergeant Ackerley is memorialized in the walls of the missing in the American Cemetery in France. And so they'll go through and try to update stuff, and you can find out where they're missing. And part of why it's so important to bring them home is it's part of a debt of a nation to come back and bring them back. And that's why we're trying to, when we go looking for them, that's why we try to do what we're doing. So John Abbott was a civilian during World War I. He could have been on a supply ship. He could have been part of Merchant Marines. He could have been part of any of the different groups. Not everyone has a biography because we're trying to reach out to their families. Some of their families don't want them to be put on here because they feel like their families are kind of being used as political tools and things like that. And so that's where that kind of comes from. So here, United States Air Force, Alan Thomas, Vietnam War. Go right here off the top. Here's a picture of him. On October 8th, 1996, the Central Identification Laboratory in Hawaii, now DPAA, identified the remains of Major Thomas Ray Allen, missing from the Vietnam War. So right here, if you're a family member of a service member, you may contact casualty officer representing and learn more about your service member. Shows where they went, where they were at. But part of this is just a whole mission of the VFW is to try to bring them home and try to find ways that we can get them back. It really is a very important part of our mission is to return them and make sure their names aren't forgotten, because that easily happens. There are families that have no clue that they have missing people. For one example, we'll jump up here to our missing and searchable list of our missing. Load up here. Once it loads, we're going to go last name Hamilton, home of record Oklahoma, search Francis E. Hamilton. Francis E. Hamilton is who our post is named after. Has North Korea given back the dead bodies of the American soldiers have found? So North Korea does not regularly give back the bodies, but you got to think in the Korean War, if we can jump over, during the Korean War, you would actually have the 45th parallel would move up and down. So the 45th parallels where the war ended, not the parallel would move, but the line would move. At some points, North Korea would push further south, and at other points, the United States would push further north. And then it finally settled on that 45th parallel. So there are dead bodies throughout the area during the Korean conflict. But there were some POWs given back. We do try to do some exchanges with them when we can, but it doesn't happen as often as you would think. But like I said, we were on Francis Hamilton, our namesake here. Francis Hamilton actually joined with another service member. His dad was the doctor here in town. I believe his mom worked for the school. And then Francis Hamilton later on joined with one of his really good friends, and they went to boot camp together. And then he was killed in the Mediterranean. His ship was delivering supplies to help fight Rommel in northern Germany. And where his ship is will probably never be recovered. But still acknowledging that presence and acknowledging the fact that these people served, raised their hand, and went to join and fight is a big portion of why we want to bring them back. We're going to go back to our missing list here. We're going to use another one here that we know the personal story of that's still missing. Home of record, Oklahoma. Oh. Well, he didn't pull up there. What's going on here? Let's see here. Did I misspell that one? There we go. Robert Wayne Burns. Robert Wayne Burns was flying in an F-4 Bravo. He was... there's so much about this guy that makes him just an absolutely wild hero. Before he joined the military, he actually was working in an oil field, and the oil field had caught fire, and he had several of his guys were out there on the oil rig. He ran out, knocked him off the oil rig, and received third-degree burns to part of his body before he ever joined the military. He was in school at, was it the Oklahoma school, or the Oklahoma School for the Normal? Oklahoma Historical Possum could probably correct me in the chat. She knows what those school used to be called. But he was at college. The Vietnam War started, and he decided he was going to join. One of the things that he was known for was around his family was he liked to drive fast, and he liked to soup up cars as much as he could. So they were not surprised when he found a way to get into a plane of some kind. But he was shot down, they believe, over Laos, right here, next to Vietnam. And then for years, they were putting out some wrong information or misinformation because they didn't want to relieve the whole story. They were going over and doing spy operations over Laos because they were being attacked from Laos. And that's what he was assigned to do. And now that he is on there, they're starting to work on recovering him. And right here is the other thing. So you're going to see Robinson, Larry, Warren. This lists other people that were gone and missing with them. Hey there, Recon. How you doing? So you can find the same thing. Here's this is the guy that was in the plane with Burns, Major Larry Warren Robinson. They were on the same flight and were shot down. And so part of this is having a great tool to be able to go back and find what missing there are from your community. Because again, some of them may not have families that are left alive. Some of them might. So if we go in here, I'll go back and home record. Let's pull another one here. Let's pull Indiana. So the total list of missing from Indiana is 1,808. And again, you go through and you start looking through World War One. Nope. World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War. So you're slowly seeing these large groups that have not been recovered. But also you can go through there and look. Even recently, we've not done a great job. Our missing searching the list. We're going to drop down here. We're going to leave all the states in, and we'll just go down to conflict. Operation Desert Storm. So we have 2 from Operation Desert Storm right there that are unaccounted for. Barry Thomas Cook from the United States Navy out of Texas, and Robert J. Dower out of Oklahoma, or out of Ohio. Sorry, another O state. But if you go and look at Libya, Operation Iraqi Freedom, we've got out of Florida, Adnan al-Hawaii out of Florida, Timothy Bell and Kirk Van Ackerman out of New Mexico, Operation Iraqi Freedom. They're missing. Let's go Operation El Dorado Canyon in Libya. United States Air Force, Paul Lawrence. So these are all within the last 30 years are people that are missing. And so you can see right here, there's all different ones. Cold War, if you go through and search the Cold War, there's more names than you would expect from the Cold War, 128. Paul Eugene Brock, Yokota Air Force Base, reconnaissance mission north of Japanese island of Hokkaido. So right there, we're seeing people that it's a it really is a thing that some of these names get forgotten and their stories get forgotten. And that's one of the big things that we're trying to avoid happening. We want people to remember these stories and remember these names because they gave the last full measure. They went through and Central State Normal School, now UCO, prior enlisting in the United States Marine Corps and going to Vietnam. That's absolutely correct. Francis Hamilton with the photo squadron. Yeah. So the whole goal is to keep their names from being forgotten. And that's the reason as we get into Memorial Day and we start pushing closer to POW Day, we're going to be talking a lot more about this. We kind of wanted to take a special solemn time to talk to you guys directly about the MIA POW because it means a lot to our post. Our post is very active in working on MIA POW stuff. And that's part of the reason that we kind of wanted to bring this up today and kind of talk about what's going on and why we're going to be working on this stuff. And we're going to be pushing this coming up a lot more in the next several weeks and months and really be trying to emphasize the importance of remembering those that have not been brought back home and America's contract with them that we would bring them home. Because part of the whole thing is the start of this is when you're looking at Tripoli, when the United States went over to fight the pirates. Those 6 gentlemen that were killed fighting the pirates in Tripoli were not returned until the 1960s, I believe. So they were overseas. That war started in the 1800s. So they had been overseas for over 100 years before America brought them back. And that's when the whole start of, if we sent you overseas to fight, it is our job to bring you home and give the family some semblance of rest and put you back on American soil where you belong. And so that's why it's important. That's why it matters. That's why we ask people to write their congressman. We're going to be posting up in our posts on YouTube and some different places you can find ways that you can write letters to your congressman and also how you can go through and search the list of names. Again, it's really easy to do. Go into DPAA.mil and then go to our missing and searchable list of the missing. And you can also do a map if you want to do it that way. You can go down and get a map of where people are missing from. It's going to drop in these dots here. And it kind of World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War, Cold War, Gulf War, Libya operations. So you can go through and find which state they came from and how many are missing from each state. So account for by home state, unaccounted for. So you can go through and take a look at that. You can also go through and see where they are in the world, what service they served in, and it kind of goes through and gives you a really good chance to find out more about them. These are people that gave the last full measure and have not been brought home. Most of them don't have anything recognizing their service or acknowledging their service. And so we encourage people as we get closer to National MIA Day to consider something they could do in their own community to help shed a light on it, whether it's going through and ensuring that a POW flag is put up somewhere or sending a letter to your congressman or writing in. Even governors, if enough pressure is put on, you can have somebody move from inactive search to active search. And it's all about putting the pressure on there to get it done. And that's why you see those black flags that say POW MIA so often, is there are a lot of families. When we had the wall here, we actually had several families of people who their fathers were never brought home from the Vietnam War. And so it really is more impactful than you realize. You, as people walk around, you meet families of veterans and veterans, you start finding more and more and more of them that have friends or family who have just never been brought home from conflict. And so that's why it's so important, is we should be honoring those commitments to bringing them home. We should be honoring those commitments to their service and getting them repatriated to American soil. And so we thought we'd take a quick break coming out of Memorial Day to do kind of a solemn stream tonight and talk about those that are missing in action, what it means to bring them home, and how you can help be part of it. There's so many things on here. You can find volunteer opportunities. to work for DPAA. You can find resources on the DNA laboratories. You can find, oh, here you go, POW MIA Toolkit. I didn't even know that was here. Here I'm trying to feature off the website, and I didn't even realize that was still on here. Let's see what all they have on there. Okay, so I have a question. You have a quick question. If you deserted the army and prove it would have also been counted in the no, if you deserted and they could prove that you deserted, you were not part of this list. This is I guess the toolkit's not being found. So if you deserted, that's a different thing completely. This is only for those that there is more than a shadow of a doubt that they were killed somehow in the line of duty. If there was any kind of hint that somebody was missing because they deserted, it's not counted. And again, some of these you can break down. So let's go to Vietnam War. You can find major battles. Korean War, same way. You can find different POW camps, DMZ campaigns, all those different ones there. World War II, you can find major battles, European theater, Pacific theater. Cold War is just all one. And disinterment program if you want to have them brought back home if they were found to be buried somewhere else. But a lot of the stories that we're getting right now are when we're in Vietnam, it's them going to local farmers and the farmers saying, hey, look, we found what we believe is a service member at this location. And then we send a team out there to go and excavate and try to find it. They're also going through and finding where prisoners were moved along trails between POW camps and digging those up. But yeah, if there's evidence of desertion, they're not on this. This is not, because at that point, if you deserted and then died later, that's not the same thing. Missing in action is you were some kind of action in the service of your country, not doing something else. So that's where all these come for. And then recently accounted for, these are some big, always good stories to have who the recently accounted for was. So unaccounted for fiscal year 2026, 103 World War II veterans have been brought back, 26 Korean War veterans, no Cold War, Vietnam War in in 2026. And here are the list of who has been brought back: Philippines, Japan, Philippines, Korea, Philippines, Papua New Guinea, Italy, Germany, Taiwan, Germany, Philippines. So you're seeing kind of a little mix of everything. Mainly World War II. Again, there's another Korean War one right there. Charles Killian, Harry Roscoe. This is one familiar of our post. Corporal C.W. Wright. Was brought home. Where was he buried at? Do we see that on here? Oh, that's North Carolina. That's not the right one. That's the wrong one. We're looking for Joseph Gordon Wright. CW right there. Let's see here. He's got to be on here too. CW Wright. Richard Gordon Wright. Yeah, we're looking at RG Wright, not CW Wright. The W Wright got me confused there. I was like, oh, that's it. Was that in 2026 or was that in 2025? I think it was in 2020. Oh, it was in 2025. I think if I go back too far, it's not going to. They should do it in like chronological order of when they were brought home. I guess I could do it by location. There's some Austria, Albania, Belgium, Brazil. Wow. Several in Brazil. Burma, Cambodia, China. We got to get over the K's here real quick. See if he's still on here. Indonesia, I, J, K. Korea. Dale Williams. There's a lot of rights. Robert Johnson, right? Good night. There are so many from Korea being brought back. But the other thing is, if you have a family member that served, and you can go through and search last name and where you're from, you may be surprised. You may have family members that are still gone. And if you do, if you find somebody that is part of your family that's gone, we encourage you to reach out to the DPAA. So many times we find out that there's no DNA on file to have the person identified. And if they can't be identified, they can't be returned. And it's really easy to get a cheek swab. Right there in the chat on YouTube, you have DPAA site right there for the profiles. Richard Gordon Wright. On February 8th, 2024, the Defense POW Accounting Agency identified the remains of Private Richard Gordon Wright, missing from World War II. Private Wright entered the United States Marine Corps from Oklahoma. So, yeah, this was one of them that our post was instrumental in helping bring back. Nice little picture of him right there on there. So, and not all the times are the remains whole. So the whole thing is if you can go through, if you find somebody who is related to you or maybe related to you, it's always good to get hold of the Armed Forces Medical Examiner System. They take I think it's a cheek swab, I believe was what they do. And they can go through and put that on file if you have somebody. It goes through, explains what DNA you can use, whose all DNA can be pulled to make sure that we get the exact match where the DNA is found. You can learn all about how we go through and bring them home. But we want to take a special day to, aside from Memorial Day, just to call out this for people to go check out, go learn more about those that are still missing and those that haven't been returned home yet. You can get news updates and find out all the new stuff that's going on, and learn how to take part in this very, very critical mission to make sure that all of those that did serve are able to return home. But that is all we're going to cover tonight. We're going to be back to some watch alongs on Thursday. I think Recon Sarge, if he's still out there in the stream, Recon, I think we're doing something. Is there an equivalent? I don't know if there's. I think Historic Opossum is going to be sending up if there's an equivalent for Canadians. Oh, so yeah, there is a casualty identification program for Canada. But I think Recon Sarge, if he is out there, we're going to be doing something different than Fallout. Is that right? Oh, you're going to do Fallout? Okay. I didn't know if you were switching up the game or not, but we'll be back tomorrow with Fallout, I guess. And then I think you're getting close to the end of it, aren't you there, Recon? Or at least I think he's getting close to the end of it. I think he's about to wipe out the Institute and start moving on to some other games. I know he's got some other games he's been itching to launch into. So be sure to check it out tomorrow. We'll have the live notice up way ahead of time, so that way you guys will be able to see it. And as soon as you can, jump in, be part of his streams. His streams are really, really great. He's got a Fat Man piggy bank. Can't remember the name of it, but it's one of the funniest guns I've ever seen. It launches a piggy bank nuke at his enemies and hits them with caps, and he has a really good time over there. He's got a lot of information. If you play Fallout 4 and you want to catch up or learn a little bit about Fallout 4, I'd highly recommend being part of his streams, or just jump on there for a good time, because he also has some really great music that plays there in the background. so he can literally pop a cap in people. One of the songs that never fails to play every stream is it Put the Pickle Back Carol? I think that is one of my favorite songs. Uh, I can't help but laugh and sing that around the house the rest of the day. Every time we watch one of your streams. I keep the change, you filthy animal. I try not to think too much about the song lyrics and fall. um, there's one about aliens taking somebody's horse. There's some really good ones in there that he has put in there. They're not your typical Fallout songs. There are some songs that he's got uploaded in there. But if you want a really good time, be sure to check out his stream tomorrow. They are absolutely a great times to be on the stream. And he doesn't. I don't think he's ever turned away conversations when we're sitting there talking. So even if you want to talk about veterans issues, you're going to talk about other things, hop in there, have a great time with him. But I think that's where we'll end it for tonight. But we'll be back with our normal watch along on Thursday. We were going to do safety tips for the bus. But we decided to, since we're still so close to Memorial Day, we want to do something special for the DPAA. And if you get a chance, join us again later and give us a follow on Facebook. We're on TikTok. We're on Twitch. We're on YouTube. We're on everything. Come check us out. Be part of what makes Mission 493 great, because it's there here for those that serve, those that have served, and those that support. So anybody's welcome to come in, and we appreciate you guys being here. But until next time, stay strong, stay true, stay Frankie. We will see you in the next one.